Tents. Tents, tents, tents. I like tents. I have many, many tents. You might call it an addiction to tents. In this video, I wanted to go over just a few of the tents. Well, actually, these are all the tents that I have, not a few. Some are older, some are newer. There's one I haven't even tried yet. But in this video, I just want to give you an idea of the different kinds of tents that I have been using over the years. I will also be demonstrating these in the field once the weather cooperates and I get out camping, so you'll get to see how they get set up and how good they are, and what I like about them and what I don't like about them. But let's start with my oldest tent. My oldest tent is this MEC Snowfield. This tent, how long have I had this tent? I believe it is coming close to about 20 years that I've had this tent. This is a two-person tent. It's been an amazing tent, incredibly reliable. Like most two-people tents, you can fit two people somewhat comfortably. I loved it for camping on my own because I had room for myself and all my gear beside me. It used to never leak when it rained. It's getting older now, so the seams on it do need to be retaped. It's got to be waterproofed again, but prior to it getting this old, it worked incredibly well. I've used it in summer, winter, fall, spring. It's a fantastic tent. So I still use it occasionally, not as often as I used to, but great tent. Now, the one thing about the Snowfield that I didn't like for backpacking, it was quite heavy. So I went and got myself a smaller tent. This is a North Face Stormbreak 1. It's a one-person tent. It's quite light, and I've really enjoyed using this one. It sets up in like 2 minutes, and you're done. So like a lot of one-person tents, it is really just one person. You can fit yourself in it, and that's it. Rolling over, you're gonna roll into the side of the tent. So you are confined, but for ease of carrying and ease of setup, man, it was a great tent. Okay, the beginning of my favorite tents. I'm sure many of you, if you've watched my videos, you've seen the Tentsile tents that I use. Tentsile makes amazing tents. This isn't an advertisement for them, although I do really like their tents and have used them a lot. This was the first Tentsile tent that I got, the Tentsile Flight. This is a two-person tent, and it hangs in the trees like all Tentsile tents do. I've not tried it with two people. For one person, it's great. You have enough room to put yourself inside and to spread out a little bit, and maybe keep some of your gear on the other side. You do have to watch that anything you keep on the side that you're not sleeping on will tend to roll onto you during the night because you are pushing down on one side of the tent. But it's fantastic. I've loved that tent. I've used that more than any of the other Tentsile tents that I have. It's great in bad weather because you can sit underneath it because you've created like a little shelter. Inside it, you're pretty safe from the elements. If you have depending on how you have the fly sheet set up, if you have it pulled up high so you can see out, you may get, if it's windy, some rain coming in. But for the most part, it's been great, and you can actually pull down the fly as well to stop rain getting in. So the Tentsile Flight. Now, along with the Tentsile Flight, I have what they call the mini hammock. Now it's exact same size as the floor part of the Tentsile tent, but it doesn't have the tent on top. So this works just like a hammock. Again, the 3 points to the 3 trees, but you can use it on its own, or what I've done many times is set it up as a layer beneath the flight. Either a few feet below it so that I can lay on that when I want to lounge about and then climb up into the tent itself, or in the wintertime I've used it where it's been sandwiched, where I clip them onto the same straps and then I sandwich insulating material to put in between to keep me warm from the bottom. But this is a great little thing. Now, if you are backpacking, you wouldn't want to take both this and the tent. They are a little bit heavier because they have ratchets that you need to use, and they weigh quite a bit, ratchets and straps. You can get away without using all the ratchets, but I find that just makes and tying off your straps to the tent, but I find that makes the setup a little bit more complicated. So there you go, the Tentsile Flight. The next Tentsile tent that I got was the Tentsile Una. Now this is a one-person tent. It's lighter to carry than the Tentsile Flight, which makes it a little bit better for backpacking. Again, if you have 3 ratchets, it's going to be heavy, but you can get away with the 1 if you want to. They also make these things called web locks, which are really convenient and a lot less weight than the ratchets. But this is a good little tent. I do find like you really can just fit yourself in it, for one thing. It's really quite tight. Where it comes to a point, it gets tight on your feet. So you can't have a big, wide sleeping bag inside the tent. You're probably better with a mummy bag in that. It also affects the kind of sleeping pads you can use in there. You need something that comes to at least a little bit narrower at the foot. I don't particularly like the way the fly sheet works on this tent, though. It sort of flops down, especially at the end where your feet are. They do recommend that you tie a line to the top of the fly and hold it up. But if you don't have anything to tie up to, you're not going to be able to do that. So I'm still working on trying to figure out the best way to set up the fly on this. But it's a nice tent. For carrying when you've got don't have a lot of weight with you, that's a lot better. Still a little bit heavier than my one-person regular tent, which goes on the ground. Now here is the big one. This is the Tentsile Stingray. This is a 3-person tent. It's a very heavy tent. I have used this when I've been canoeing. If I don't have to portage very far, I'm willing to take the weight. But you've got much bigger tent, you've got bigger straps, you have bigger ratchets, so it does weigh quite a bit. But I really, really enjoyed this tent. Along with the Tentsile Stingray, I have the large hammock, which is the same size as the Stingray. Again, it's the floor part, so you can set it up kind of like you see here as a double deck tent. Now, the thing that's really cool about the Stingray, you have a door at the front, which is great for access straight out of the tent, or there's a hatch in the center of the tent, a little triangular hatch, which you can climb up through. Depending on how you set it up, one or the other will become more convenient. When I set it up as a double decker, it's much more convenient to go up through the hatch, partly because it's higher up and you can't really get out of the door, but it's got all sorts of options there, the hatch or the doorway. I've slept in it with 2 people and that was no problem. I haven't tried with 3 people yet, but it's got tons of space inside. And each side that you sleep on, I mean, even though you will sort of tilt the tent if you're on your own a little bit, the other sides kind of act as their own little separate sort of areas. So you're not going to have as much stuff rolling on you as you would, let's say, in the 2-person tent than in this one. Plus the hatch in the middle also is a great place to store stuff. It's got a zipper and a compartment to hold stuff. So I really, really like the Stingray. It's one of my favorite tents. My final Tentsile tent is the Tentsile Vista. Now, this is an interesting tent. I haven't actually tried it yet. I have it. I'm looking forward to trying it out. But basically what it is, it's the floor of the Tentsile Stingray, so the large hammock that they make, along with, you get poles, a fly sheet, and a bug net. So you put it together and the bug net hangs from the poles around the tent. The way the fly is set up on this, it gives you a much bigger view. So that's what they call it, the Vista. It's much more open. So perhaps not as good in stormy weather. If it's raining, you're gonna have wind blowing rain inside. But if you're going somewhere where you don't have to worry about, first of all, the weight of it, and also you don't have to worry about it being bad weather, that would be a great tent because you can see out and it's gonna be fantastic. Now, in addition to the Tentsile tents, I also have a variety of what they call walls. So these are basically tarps. They're about 4 feet by maybe 10 feet, something like that, or 9 feet. And what you use these for is to create an area underneath the tent which will stay dry. The tent itself is going to provide protection from rain coming down, but you may have obviously wind, so you might set these up along the sides of the tent to help protect from the elements underneath. So you can create a really nice sheltered spot underneath. If you set it up as a double decker, you can also then use it to shelter the lower layer in case it rains as well, so you have somewhere to hang out in the rain. And I've done that many times when it's rained. Had that second level where I can hang out, the walls up just to keep it dry, and it's worked really, really well. Well, there you have it. Those are my tents. I don't think you can have too many tents. I'm sure I will be getting more in the future. That was just an overview of the tents that I have. I will be doing videos showing how they're set up and the pros and the cons once I get back out camping, so look for those. Also look for future videos that are coming. We will be doing one on the different backpacks that I use. Once we get back to winter, I'll be doing one on the winter camping gear. And already you can watch, if you're interested, the video that I did on just the miscellaneous general camping gear that I use when I'm camping. So thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you with the next video. Thanks.